third actor, just say Andre, aka the whiner.
I want to say to all my haters that, I really appreciate y'all.
You'll be 5 years in school, and by the time you get out of school, you're too old to jump into the business anymore.
Does that kind of...
Whoa. Fantastic.
Catch me outside, how about that?
Catch you outside?
And I don't expect to be forgiven. I'm simply here to apologize.
You tried to take my shoe? You want to be a thief?
Before the lights, before the money, before the world knew their names, they were invisible, broke, ignored, one bad break away from disappearing, then everything exploded. Overnight fame, millions watching, power and attention most people never touch. Here's what no one tells you, not every rise lasts. Some didn't just fall, they crashed. Hard, publicly, irreversibly, careers shattered, reputations destroyed, lives unraveling in real time while the world watched. Viral rappers, Hollywood stars, internet icons, once untouchable, now unrecognizable. This isn't just how they made it, it's what happened after everything fell apart. Because sometimes fame is a dream, and sometimes it's the beginning of the end. Let's get into Before They Were Famous, before everything went wrong.
XXXTENTACION was born, just say, on Froy on January 23rd, 1998 in Plantation, Florida, 45 minutes north of Miami. X's sister Ariana, she actually uploaded a video to her YouTube channel reacting to their childhood videos.
So why you little boy, man?
Always crying. Always crying.
His father, Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy, who now posts photos to Instagram hanging out with baby Jesse, well, he missed out on a lot of the kid's youth after being sent to prison around the time X was 10 or 11. Now, his mother, Cleopatra Bernard, wasn't exactly fit to raise her boy, and he would bounce around to different homes, including time with his father's other girlfriends and his grandmother. While his relationship with his mom was described as mostly a positive one, X did reveal that there were times when she would mentally abuse him. On the other hand, she did often compliment him on his looks, and she dressed him up in Abercrombie & Fitch. Now, he loved his mother to bits and pieces, and he always wanted her attention. Then when a man put his hands on her when he was 6 years old, well, he attacked the man, biting him while holding a shard of glass. Now, X would also bring violence into the schoolyard, often getting into brawls, which led to him getting expelled from Margaret Middle School. He got kicked out of at least one other school for fighting, and at one point, well, he was put in a behavioral correctional facility called the Sharing House and spent 9 months at this boot camp. When his mother finally had enough and kicked him out the house, he moved to Lauderhill to live with his grandma. Now, he had little to focus on or plans for the future, but he did love music. X would not only listen to the most popular rappers like Lil Wayne, Tupac, and Biggie, but he would also listen to Nirvana, The Fray, 3 Days Grace, and Papa Roach. Taking note of his interest in music, his aunt put him in singing classes, and he spent some time learning the guitar and piano. He also took karate classes and was a big fan of the UFC. Outside of music and sports, another passion of his was womanizing, and seeing as he was popular on Tumblr and Facebook, well, he had a lineup of girls that he could get with. In his teens, X racked up a slew of charges including armed robbery, armed burglary, possession of a firearm, resisting without violence, armed robbery with dwelling, possession of oxycodone, the list goes on and on. He was the target of a drive-by shooting and took a bullet in the shoulder, a scary foreshadowing of things to come. Now, music became his only consistent interest in life, and his only hope for a better future. He dropped his first song, Vice City, in March of 2014 and promoted it to his followers online, but he wouldn't be able to enjoy the fruits of his labor for long, as he was soon being sent to a youth detention center for gun possession. It was in this facility that he would meet Ski Mask the Slump God, and the two quickly became the best of friends. They bonded over their ambitions to become recording artists and encouraged one another to get better. Again, X's violent side also came out, with him almost killing his cellmate. The man had developed an infatuation with X, and well, he would watch him shower. Then one day X, he had had enough and he attacked the man, resulting in the guard stepping in and throwing X in the hole. Once both rappers got out, they formed the Very Rare Collective and started to bubble up on SoundCloud with tracks like Fuck, Skin, Teeth, Riot, Tummy Tuck, and I Love It When They Run, which today all clock in millions of plays. Producing these bangers, working with nothing but a mic and a laptop, this gave X his signature style. For cash, X worked at a call center as a phone operator, making just $10 an hour, and it wouldn't be long before he would return to crime. In July of 2016, he was arrested again, this time for charges of robbery and assault with a deadly weapon. While locked up in Broward Regional Detention Center in Fort Lauderdale, X's track Look at Me started to gain some serious hits on SoundCloud. His online buzz turned into a roar, with fans posting the hashtag #FreeX absolutely everywhere. Soon enough, mainstream news were also talking about X, and there were accusations being made of Drake ripping off Look at Me for his track KMT.
I know who they're talking about.
Is this the extension guy?
I don't even think that's how you say his name. But yeah, that's
I tried to practice.
They call him
extension.
X. So anyway,
X posted bail set at $10,000, but it wouldn't be long before he would be back behind bars. On October 8th of 2016, he was arrested again, this time charged with aggravated battery of a pregnant woman, domestic battery by strangulation, false imprisonment, and witness tampering. Following his release from jail, X would have a series of concerts that would turn bloody, with a riot breaking out in Miami. He made headlines again when he punched a fan in self-defense, and then a cancelled show in Chicago. It turned into a riot, and all these scandals, well, they only further inflated his fan base. X landed the coveted 10th spot on the XXL 2017 freshman list, and his debut studio album entered the Billboard 200 in the #2 spot. Soon major labels were knocking on his door, and there was an offer made for $6 million for him to sign with Capitol Music. There was certainly money coming in, because X bought himself a BMW i8, as well as a pair of Camaros for his boys.
It's not really an accomplishment unless I'm helping like 1,000 homeless kids, but I feel like I did something, yeah.
Him and Ski Mask, they would have a very public falling out, and he would also have beef with Rob Stone, and then he got jumped by men who he thought were the Migos.
Just know they had fire and they pulled a gun on me, man. Amigos, straight up. Look at this shit. Y'all niggas had the chance to kill me. How you had fire and ain't shoot me?
It turns out it wasn't them. Now his sister, she started a YouTube channel revealing that the two of them, well, they were no longer on speaking terms.
I don't know why my crutches keep being brought up in this boy mouth. I don't understand. I guess that's where he feels like he can hurt me with, but he don't even know that those words don't mean anything to me.
Despite all of his success, X's trial for domestic abuse, it kept lingering over his head. Then X decided to change up both his look and his social media pages. He deleted all of his content from Instagram and opted for a different hair color, then he shaved off his eyebrows, and he got additional face tattoos, including one on his forehead of a tree. After several court delays on December 14, 2017, X pled not guilty and was taken into a pre-trial custody and held without bail. But just a few days later, it was confirmed that he would be released on house arrest. Now at the beginning of 2018, X began posting to his YouTube channel, and it seemed like he made a few New Year's resolutions. On January 22nd, he published a video vlogging about some new charitable efforts.
I want to ask, I'm not going to ask everybody, but it can be short. I want to ask what your dreams are. What's your dream? NBA. What's your NBA? You want to be in the NBA?
He would go on to say, I really wanted to not only record it just to set some sort of positive energy into the air, but also to kind of influence other people to do it as well. I was actually going to start a movement called The Helping Hand, where you guys record you doing good things for people and kind of spread that positive energy. In February of 2018, X released a song called Hope, dedicated to the survivors of the Douglas High School shooting. It was released shortly after X hosted a benefit show where he offered condolences to the victims. That month, he also posted on social media that he was planning on refocusing on his education, and would later announce that he had plans to go to community college to get his GED. But not all of his posts that month were so positive. On February 5th of 2018, his Twitter account posted explicit pictures of Drake, while his Instagram account, it posted something even more disturbing. If anyone tries to kill me, it was Drake. I'm snitching right now. X later claimed he was hacked, but would go on to trade insults with his former collaborator Trippie Redd. Now following reports that Trippie worked on Drake's song God's Plan, but that beef, it would be squashed pretty quickly, ending in March.
The nigga X on the DM I'm talking about. Yeah, you know that nigga Ben, shut your bitch ass up. I be calling X. Every time he say something about me, I call his line, cause he's not about that.
This new project, this album's not about the words, it's about the feeling. It'll be very hard to understand, but very easy to listen to. It's not what you're expecting. Even if you feel like you understand my music, be prepared to not understand this music. Whether his listeners understood the music or not, the project peaked at #1 on the Billboard 200, making it his highest charting project of all time. Now X was released from house arrest on March 21st, 2018. Shortly thereafter, well, yet another scandal emerged. as footage surfaced of him hitting a woman. While his lawyers argued that the video was a joke, X claimed that he was already being financially extorted by the woman and her family members. And the woman, well, she came forward days later stating this. For those of you who are questioning why I didn't come forth earlier was because I was terrified for my life. Imagine someone doing that to you unprovoked at 16, let alone the people he associated himself with. Truth of the matter is, I would still be holding on to this secret if it wasn't leaked. On May 10, 2018, Spotify announced that it was going to stop promoting or recommending X or the R&B artist R. Kelly. The company stated, "We don't censor content because of an artist or creator's behavior, but we want our editorial decisions to reflect our values." The decision was later reversed on June 1st after Top Dog Entertainment CEO Anthony Tiffith, well, he threatened to remove his label's music from the service. Then on Monday afternoon of June 14, 2018, X posted his final Instagram story saying, "Planning a charity event for this weekend, Florida." Now at the time, he was apparently shopping for motorcycles in South Florida, and as he was leaving the dealership, well, a gunman ran up to his vehicle and shot him. Witnesses checked, they found that he didn't seem to have a pulse, and well, he was rushed to a hospital in a comatose. And less than an hour later, well, he was pronounced dead in hospital.
I guess I'm just making this because the information, what I just heard, was that he's passed.
At the time of this recording, the suspects are still on the loose, described as two black males wearing hoodies, and the shooter was wearing a red mask. And the suspects, well, they escaped in a black Dodge Journey. Now, if you have any information about this crime that might lead to an arrest, please contact the Broward County Sheriff's Department. Now, his death, it has brought up a lot of questions. The internet has been set ablaze with rumors that he's still alive. Others are pointing fingers at other rappers who may have had something to do with this. Now, he does have two unreleased projects, a mixtape titled I Need Jesus, and a studio album titled Skins. And their future release at the moment, well, it remains unclear.
XXXTentacion's story ended in tragedy, but the next rapper's downfall would play out in front of the entire world.
I stand out for the kids that can't stand out for themselves, you know, like stand up for themselves and get bullied and deal with a whole lot of cyberbullying, deal with a whole bunch of school.
Tekashi 6ix9ine was born Daniel Hernandez on May 18, 1999. He was born and raised in the Bushwick neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York, and he was raised by both his mom and dad. And he grew up alongside his brother, oh yeah, and he's of mixed Hispanic descent.
My mom is Mexican. She's from Puebla, Aclisco de las Flores in Mexico, and my dad is Puerto Rican.
If you haven't noticed, 6ix9ine is a big part of Tekashi's colorful branding. It's in his stage name and was his stage name prior to that. He's also got the number 69 tattooed all over his body, most noticeably inked in giant block numbers on his forehead, which is actually one of his most recent tats. He actually has the number tattooed on his body over 200 times. According to Tekashi, the number has something to do with his childhood, but he's pretty cryptic about what exactly it means. He stated, 6ix9ine is just a lifestyle, you know what I'm saying? And it has to do a lot with how I came up. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get too much into what 6ix9ine is, you know what I'm saying, right now, but just I want people to really understand, so I'm gonna let them know who I am first before they get to know the 6ix9ine. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be honest with you, Tekashi, I have no idea what you're saying. Anyway, since he says 6ix9ine has something to do with how he came up, my best guess is that it has something to do with surviving difficult circumstances. Young Daniel didn't have a TV growing up. He would often go to sleep hungry, so much so that his stomach made noises so loud that his mother would hear the grumbling and cry. He never had money for new clothes. In fact, his mother once gave him a pair of shoes that she found in the trash. And when he showed up to school wearing them, one of his classmates recognized them as a pair he had thrown away. But despite his poverty, Daniel was a popular kid in school. He was a class clown, he was never bullied, and had the confidence to always be himself. But things changed when he was 13 years old, and a serious tragedy changed his life for the worse. Daniel's father was murdered just steps away from the family home.
That made me rebel, you know what I'm saying? That made me angry. I don't want to be a superhero. I want to be I want to be a villain. The villains never die, superheroes always die.
After that, Daniel had some serious issues. He began getting in trouble in school, and though he forgets what incident ended up being the final straw, he was expelled in the 8th grade. With his father gone, Daniel's mother had even more trouble paying the bills than before. So rather than focusing on getting back into school, Daniel began to look for work to help her pay the bills. The first job he landed was a gig as a busboy at a local restaurant, but it didn't last long. Young Daniel was too weak to carry stacks of plates and ended up getting fired. He would later find work at other odd jobs, but with traditional work failing to get Daniel the cash he so desperately needed, he and his brother turned to selling drugs. At first, just weed. While Daniel would eventually make a name for himself as a rapper, his musical tastes range across a wide spectrum, with his early musical influences being of a totally different flavor. He listened to heavy metal bands like All That Remains and Parkway Drive. And embarking on his new family drug business, Daniel began spending more time than ever with his brother. His brother was in a metal band, which further exposed Daniel to music from the genre. Unfortunately, the drug slinging was not all positive. At one point, Daniel had a job working at a bodega, and the store owner caught him selling heroin while working at the store. Daniel made a bad call after being confronted. He opted to beat up the store owner. The cameraman's laughing. As a result, he would catch charges for selling narcotics and assault, and spend time on the notorious prison island Rikers. All this happened while Daniel was still a minor, and thankfully it worked as the wake-up call he needed. From there on out, he decided to keep on the straight and narrow, even though this meant he would only find shelter by crashing on basement floors. But there was something about Tekashi that would help propel him into internet fame. Stop laughing!
I didn't have the Uggs on. I didn't have all this shit, you know what I mean? I couldn't afford it. I wanted it, I couldn't afford it.
Growing up with so little money, he of course could never afford to buy name brand clothes. As a result, he developed his own unique style, something he would eventually use to his advantage for garnering popularity on the internet. Tekashi claims that early on he had several popular Instagram accounts, but repeatedly got his account disabled for inappropriate content. As he put it, "I'm the king of getting my Instagram deleted." But his deactivated accounts would not stop the virality of his images. Before he even started to get attention for his music, he was tasting a rainbow of a different kind. Pictures of him wearing a shirt that says, "Pussy Eater." Well, that gained massive attention, to the point where Daniel was basically a living meme, with more pictures of him wearing outlandish clothes frequently popping up on sites like Reddit. You might be wondering why he wore the letters HIV. Thankfully, he was in no way making light of the disease. Tekashi had several friends who were HIV positive and used to do the AIDS walk each and every year. He would continue to wear the letters HIV outside of the walk as a way of raising awareness about the impact of the disease. He also has the letters tattooed on his back. Tekashi remains a huge proponent of safe sex to this day, and has even explored the option of making his own line of condoms. If he makes them, they will, of course, be rainbow colored, and feature the numbers 6 and 9.
Contract the rainbow. Taste the rainbow.
Now, as I mentioned, the 6ix9ine thing remains a bit of a mystery. Another part of his personal brand he reps pretty hard is Scum Gang. That he explains a little more clearly. Scum stands for Society Can't Understand Me, and is a testament to who he believes his fans are. Young social outcasts who are too often misunderstood by those around them. Kids who, like himself, have strong personal identities and don't conform. Tekashi values this a lot, as it was standing out in personal style that would eventually lead to him becoming a recording artist. Tekashi stated, "Well, I started rapping for fun. I really didn't want to be a rapper or whatever. I just started making music because everybody was just like, yo, you look mad cool." As I mentioned in the intro, despite being thought of as a SoundCloud rapper, Tekashi never started his own SoundCloud account. And despite growing a fan base with YouTube videos, he never created his own YouTube account. All he would do is make his music, make his videos, and release them through a channel called FCK That, which according to Tekashi is a label based in Slovakia. In fact, Tekashi continues to have a large following in Eastern Europe. The first time he performed live was during a tour in Eastern Europe in the spring of 2017. That first performance was a sold-out show in Prague. Tekashi was just 15 when he created his first music video. It was called 6ix9ine, but unfortunately it got deleted off of YouTube. In fact, his first few videos all got deleted, so apparently he's also the king of getting his YouTube videos deleted. Well, this music video that seems to still be available on the FCK Them channel appears to be Scum Life, which dropped on July 27, 2015. That video would fail to see massive numbers right away, but has since gone on to rack up nearly 1 million views. He would garner more attention throughout 2016 with tracks like Yokai and Helsing Station. In January of 2017, he collaborated with Jay Stash and Zen Black to create Exodia. For all these songs, Tekashi put painstaking effort into making his videos as cool as possible. When it comes to making music videos, he says he thinks he's the best at what he does. This despite the fact that he also says that he's not really a fan of his own music. While his videos began to turn heads, Tekashi also started to catch his fair share of hate, but he managed to turn storm clouds into rainbows. Not only does he chalk up his haters as people who are helping to get his name out there, he's also managed to make friends out of beef. Apparently during one beef, Trippie Redd weighed in with a public comment in support of a dude who was bashing Tekashi. Well, as soon as Tekashi saw this, he DM'd Trippie telling him he likes his music. Trippie responded in kind, saying he likes what Tekashi was doing, and soon enough, the pair would be collaborating. And their first collaboration would be a music video that would raise Tekashi's profile like never before.
This nigga twice me! Close range has me! Fuck with invest me!
Polls 1469 dropped on YouTube on April 27, 2017. The music video has since gone on to receive nearly 20 million views on YouTube. Tekashi would also soon score a collab with Famous Dex on the song Zeta 0.5, and Trippie and Tekashi would go on to collaborate on other successful songs like Owie. But before long, there would be trouble in paradise. The biggest scandal in Tekashi's career thus far will begin with the artist Zilla Kami, a former associate of Tekashi. According to Tekashi, back in the day, he helped take care of Zilla throughout the summer of 2016, giving him food, money, and a place to crash. According to Tekashi's management, the beef began because of an incident during a video shoot and also a dispute over the use of some beats. But in August of 2017, Zilla told a very different story. According to Zilla, Tekashi was arrested for statutory rape after sleeping with a 13-year-old girl. Zilla claims he then bailed Tekashi out of jail for a whopping $20,000, which Tekashi never paid him back for. As evidence of his alleged crimes, Zilla and other Tekashi detractors have circulated this image, apparently showing Tekashi with an underage girl. There's also this image, a screenshot allegedly showing his charges, and the fact that he pled guilty. It should be noted that Daniel Hernandez is a common enough name, and it's not clear that this rap sheet is actually about Tekashi. Plus, Zilla Kami has not produced a receipt showing that he actually paid bail for him. Tekashi also tried to confront Zilla about the allegations outside of a tattoo parlor, but Zilla, he refused to come out.
Look, yo Zilla, come outside.
No.
He don't want to come outside, he locked himself inside the tattoo shop.
Nevertheless, he also put out a strange video in which he referred to himself as a happy rapist.
I'm such a happy rapist, and I'm free.
After this scandal broke, Trippie decided to distance himself from the alleged statutory rapist.
You got me fucked up, nigga. I don't rape bitches. I don't do that. You feel me? I don't fuck with little girls. You did.
Tekashi, of course, denies the whole statutory rape story. He's had harsh words for Zilla, but his response to Trippie Redd was a little more gentle.
I don't know why you hate on me so much, bro. You lit, bro. You know what I mean? Your music is lit, bro. You gain money, bro, and you still find a reason to hate on me, bro. I don't.
But he did seem to work in a subtle threat to expose Trippie.
Me and you know what happened in LA, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Trippie Redd, for his part, didn't seem to be buying it.
I'm just letting it be known, nigga. I ain't on no 6ix9ine shit, cause that's what you known for, nigga. You did that. That's the choice you made, and that's what you gotta deal with, nigga.
Despite the beef with the guy who helped project him into the spotlight, Tekashi pressed forward to find the light at the end of the rainbow. He dropped the song Gummo on October 8, 2017, and at the time of this recording, just under a month later, it's already gone on to rack up over 15.6 million views. Tekashi was really proud of the song, calling it the second hottest coming out of New York right now. That's right, there's one song he thinks better. While 6ix9ine's fame was built on chaos, this next artist turned raw talent into one of the most powerful empires in music.
hands up, put your hands up, put your hands up, put your hands up.
Born in Trinidad and Tobago on December 8th, 1982, Nicki Minaj was born Onika Tanya Mirage. Her early years were incredibly difficult. At 5 years old, she lived with her grandmother in St. James, while her parents were in New York searching for a home and employment. 2 years later, Nicki was sent to Queens to live with her parents. However, life wasn't any better. Her dad was abusive, addicted to drugs, and he even tried to set their house on fire to kill their mom. Nicki has stated in several interviews that her and her mother lived in fear for her early years, but she used this fear to make something of herself. Since a young age, Nicki had always expressed an interest in the arts. She played clarinet in school and wrote her first rap at the age of 12. She eventually went to study at LaGuardia High School, which had a strong emphasis on the performing arts and music. But what was crazy, she didn't even major in singing. Nicki lost her voice on the day of the audition and ended up in the school's drama program instead.
Call that judge right now and tell him I can have my baby back. I am not gonna argue. Call him.
After graduating, she wanted to be an actress and was cast in the off-Broadway play In Case You Forgot back in 2001. After her acting career failed, Nicki went to go find a job. Nicki was determined to make it in the music industry, and her first job was backup singing for New York City rappers. During one of her first production deals, her manager forced her to use the name Minaj to make her ooze sex appeal, you know, like Menage a Trois. She didn't like the idea of it and she fought to use the stage name, but she gave in at the end and she hates it till this day. Throughout this time, Nicki was dating a guy by the name of Safari S.B. Samuels. On top of being her lover, he was also her assistant and personal hype man. Nicki always kept their relationship under wraps and never acknowledged it, even when the two were seen with matching engagement bands. She was eventually discovered by Dirty Money CEO Fendi, who came across her MySpace page and immediately signed her to the label. After signing with Dirty Money, she collaborated with Lil Wayne on a bunch of mixtapes and gathered a following. After 3 mixtapes between 2007 and 2009, she teamed up with Kanye West on the track Monster, and Kanye later admitted in an interview that he almost cut her out of the verses. Why? Well, she was good and he was worried that she would outshine him. Nicki released their debut album in 2010 and won Best Hip Hop Female in the BET Annual Music Awards. She released her follow-up album in 2012, Pink Friday Roman Reloaded, and her most recent one, The Pink Print, in 2015. On there, the song Bed of Lies is apparently a call out to that ex-boyfriend SB, whose hype man services she no longer requires.
Because you don't appreciate a bad bitch.
All of these albums went platinum, and Nicki has amassed quite the collection of awards. She has won 4 AMAs, 10 BET Awards, 4 Billboard Music Awards, and hundreds of more. Nicki Minaj's high school quote is, "To survive is to stay alive in the face of opposition." Not only did she survive, but she thrived and she made her way to the top.
But not every rise to fame follows a perfect path, because this next star's journey took a much darker turn.
Come on. I know you find me irresistible, alright? And I don't fault you for that. Who could fault you?
Shia Sadie LaBeouf was born on June 11, 1986 in Los Angeles, California. The only child to Shayna LaBeouf, who was Christian, and Jeffrey Craig LaBeouf, who was Jewish. Growing up, Shia was both christened and had a bar mitzvah. His mother was a dancer and ballerina who resorted to selling fabrics and other decorative fashion pieces to bring in an income for Shia when he was young. His father was a Vietnam War veteran who was a performer himself at heart. The man had a hard time keeping a job himself, and his addiction to drugs, including heroin, well, that didn't help matters. Although his dad would dress up as a happy clown and then ask for change on the streets for doing a performance, at home he was absolutely miserable. He would abuse Shia both physically and verbally, and one time he pulled a gun on his son when he was having a Vietnam flashback. Eventually his parents would split up and Shia would be sent to a rehabilitation center. Then him and his mother at this time were living at Echo Park and they were just scraping by. Shia took it upon himself to entertain his mother to lift her spirits and also bring in some extra money. He found an avenue in which to do this when he bumped into another child actor who had all this cool gear and a lot of money, and he decided, hey, I can do that.
You look perfect. Except you're missing one thing.
My dignity?
He began taking the stage at comedy clubs when he was as young as 10. He had a foul mouth, people couldn't believe it, and then he found himself an agent the good old-fashioned way. He went through the yellow book. He pretended to be his own manager, booked an appointment, then showed up, did an impromptu performance, and got signed. When he wasn't performing, he was at school, enrolled at Alexander Hamilton High School, and later 32nd Street Visual Performing Arts Magnet in Los Angeles. He wouldn't stay in school for long because his acting career was taking off. He appeared in made-for-TV Christmas movies and then in television shows like X-Files, Suddenly Susan, and Caroline in the City. His big break came when he landed the lead role in the Disney Channel's Even Stevens at the age of 14.
That whole show was basically really ad-libbed. We just made up a lot of stuff and just were stupid all day.
In this role, Shia received a Young Artist Award nomination in 2001 and a Daytime Emmy Award in 2003. There were also signs at this time that Shia was a bit of a hothead. He got into an altercation with his neighbor who had parked his car in a way that he couldn't get out of his driveway. After he asked the guy to move it and the guy didn't, well, Shia just decided to ram his car over. Yeah, and then he showed up at the neighbor's house wielding a knife. And then things escalated from there and Shia got beat up by 6 dudes.
Oh, who told you that garbage?
In 2005, Shia was arrested at a Walgreens showcasing some erratic behavior. When he wouldn't leave, security had the police remove him and charge him. But Even Stevens was on the up and up, and Shia would ride that success for 7 years. His income also allowed him to take care of both his parents, a duty that he still does today. He was cast in Disturbia, a film produced by Steven Spielberg, and booked the role based on a recommendation made to Steven by his daughter, who was a huge fan of Even Stevens, and Steven himself, he enjoyed Shia's film Holes. Now the film Disturbia, it was a bit of a tip of the hat to the classic Rear Window, and Shia, well, he got a lot of recognition for his performance. He also picked up an award, the BAFTA Orange Rising Star Award. He had plenty of other blockbuster film appearances, including Dumb and Dumber, When Harry Met Lloyd, I, Robot, Charlie Angels, Full Throttle, but it wasn't until Transformers that he became a household name.
No, watch the back. No, wait. No, no. No.
2 films he recently watched during a live stream that he wasn't impressed with. In fact, it brought him to tears, and he was pretty upset about it all. Jim Carrey was born James Eugene Carey on January 17th in 1962 in Newmarket, Ontario, Canada. The youngest of 4 siblings, the family would move around the Toronto suburbs throughout his youth. His father Percy, a retired jazz performer, turned bookkeeper in order to keep food on the table. Jim's mother Kay, she suffered from depression and paranoia, and she was unfit to work herself. Now the family, they quickly took notice as their youngest child was a wild child maniac. Even when he was a toddler in a high chair, he would form all sorts of funny faces, and the father Percy, well, this is something that he would encourage. Now when he was just a youngin', his parents, they purchased for him a pet mouse, and he realized that his mom was really scared of the thing. That's when he decided to let it loose around the house, and his mom, well, she wasn't impressed. She then sent him to his room, but he loved being grounded because in his bedroom he had a mirror and he would spend countless hours making funny faces looking at himself. In elementary school, Jim learned to make friends through hamming it up. The more laughs he got, the more popular he became. Then one time, the messing around, well, it went a little too far, and all of a sudden his head, it got slammed into his desk, and that resulted in him chipping a tooth. But that's a look he would reprise for his role as Lloyd Christmas. At home, Jim was given the nickname Jimmy Jean Stringbean. His favorite actors were Dick Van Dyke and Jerry Lewis, as well as Jimmy Stewart, John Wayne, Don Adams, and Frank Gorshin, who played the Riddler on TV's Batman. Now these are all characters that he would sit and watch the television an inch away so he could pick up all their mannerisms, become an impersonator of all their gags. He would also impersonate his mother's parents, because apparently they were huge fans of Grandpa's cough medicine.
Sucking back on Grandpa's old cough medicine?
No, oh no, sir. No.
Now although Percy was employed as an accountant, the family still had very little and they were scraping by. Young Jim, he wanted to get for himself a bike and he would dream of it. Then one day, miraculously, he won a contest he doesn't even recall entering, and well, positive thinking and dream realizations, these are practices he still preaches today. His impressions were getting more and more developed, with him mastering the voice and the moves of Elvis Presley and Tom Jones. That's when he sent a resume to Carol Burnett in hopes of being discovered. Now Jim didn't hear back, but he did work out a deal with his 7th grade school teacher out at St. Francis Xavier Secondary School in Burlington, where his teacher would allow him to take to the front of the class at the end of the day. This was in exchange for his promise not to disrupt the class throughout the day. Now when Jim was just 12 years old, his father Percy was let go from his job, and from there, well, things would go from bad to worse. Looking for some positivity in the household, Percy discovered an ad for a stand-up club in downtown Toronto. This was Jim's big break, or that's what he thought. All of a sudden, the family got to work to prep Jim for this big performance. His mother stitched together for him a yellow suit. His father began writing him some material. But when he took the stage in front of an older audience, the crowd booed and a hook appeared on stage, pulling the then 14-year-old to the floor. Now, all the family's hopes, their prayers, they were invested in young Jim being their savior at the time. Instead, they would have to look for something else. Out of desperation, Percy worked out a deal to have his entire family live and work as janitors at a factory known as Titan Wheels. Now Percy, he was employed as the security guard, and the children, well, they would have to wax, dust, polish, as well as clean toilets. The once young, beaming Jim became dark, frustrated, and resentful against the world. Exhausted and miserable, young Jim, his grades would drop at school. Eventually, he would drop out. That's when he spoke to his father, who had this to say.
You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
So Jim decided to return to Yuck Yucks, the Toronto Comedy Club, but this time he was only going to perform the impressions that he had long mastered. And this night, he killed it. Now I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but Jim's family soon joined him in his efforts to escape their lives of misery. They chose instead to live out of the family's Volkswagen camper van rather than work at the factory. Now at Yuck Yucks, Jim was rubbing shoulders with the likes of Howie Mandel, as well as other guests who came to town, including Robin Williams. And everyone was asking about this young up-and-coming impressionist.
The man named Bojangles and he danced for you.
Over the next few years, Jim went from being the new kid on the block to one of the biggest names in Canadian comedy. He landed work in both television and film, becoming a headline performer for Yuck Yucks and making the front page of the Toronto Star with the headline "A Star is Born." Jim could now afford to move his family into a basement apartment in Toronto. Jim then decided to increase his profile south of the border. He built up a long-lasting relationship with Rodney Dangerfield. He auditioned for SNL and he began working steadily at the Comedy Store out in LA. That's when Jim decided to make the move to Los Angeles, and within a few months he landed the lead role in the NBC sitcom The Duck Factory.
It's really not as bad as you'd think. I've heard the same thing said about raw fish, but I wouldn't want to try that either.
Now just as quick as things would take off, they would come crashing down. The Duck Factory was cancelled after just one season, and all of a sudden Jim Carrey, well, he'd grown tired of being an impressionist. He no longer wanted to work with that material, so he decided to take the stage with no material. And he kept bombing. He found new mentors in Clint Eastwood as well as stand-up comedian Sam Kinison. All the while, he continued to bomb on stage night after night, performing with no material and no impressions. Now around this time, Jim also went through his most profound loss to date, his mother Kay. She passed away from kidney failure. But on the upside, Jim had found love. He began dating a woman by the name of Melissa, and when she became pregnant, well, the two got married. With few work prospects in sight, Jim turned towards the horizon and wrote himself a check for $10 million. Suddenly, things started to fall into place. He landed a supporting role in Earth Girls Are Easy, resulting in a friendship with the Wayans brothers, who were developing a new sketch show for an upstart network titled Fox. The show was called In Living Color.
There's no need for investing in costly weight sets. With just a little imagination, a few hefty household appliances will do just as well.
Now, due to his popularity on In Living Color, well, Jim Carrey would get standing ovations at his stand-up gigs before he even took the stage. It was safe to say at this point, Jim Carrey's career, it was smoking. Now, 1994, it was the year of Jim Carrey. A producer had long been hounding him to work on a film known as Pet Detective. Jim Carrey wasn't too into it unless he could rewrite the script. And they were like, alrighty then. During the production of this film, cracks in his partnership with Melissa began to take form, and her inability to deal with his stardom became a heavy burden. Jim would also lose his father Percy to lung cancer and Alzheimer's, but his dad died knowing his son had made it. At the funeral, Jim placed that $10 million check he had long wrote himself with his father.
You're originally from Texas, where everything is bigger. How come all of your clothes are sort of slim fit?
I don't know, I'm kind of more of a skinnier person than a lot of like Houston fat people.
Then one of the first things he did was hook up with a number of other musicians in an attempt to forge his path into the industry. Now one of those talented individuals was also known as OG Chess, a former schoolmate of Travis. Now these two, they formed a group known as Travis and Jason, the Classmates, dropping their album Cruisin' USA in 2010.
We have, you tell this guy, I just died eating some nasty shit on camera. I don't think his mouth will ever be seen again.
The disintegration of this relationship gives us our first peek behind the curtain of how Travis Scott operates. With only a couple of years, well, these two, they had moved on from one another, and their friendship, it was irreparably broken. Here's what happened. They originally met back in the 11th grade at Elkins High School. Now at the time, Chess, he was arguably more successful than Travis was. And Travis, he was looking to move up in the world by forming a connection with a rapper who was allegedly cruising around town in a Benz. Now sharing a similar taste in music, well, Chess, he took to Travis quickly, and the two, they soon became homies. Now after they dropped Cruisin' USA, well, they quickly became legends around Houston, but the cracks in the relationship began to show after Travis booked himself a show in Houston without Chess, and alongside another up-and-coming rapper named Ashton Travis. After that, it became a series of shady dealings, moving behind people's backs, and secret meetings in LA without his classmate's partner by his side. Now despite that, OG Chess, he was still finding them gigs back in Texas. Now he put together a collaboration with A$AP Ferg, Harlem to Texas. In fact, if you look closely enough in the video, well, you can see Travis in the background dancing excitedly along with a bunch of others. Now that same night they filmed that video, well, Travis, he recorded a track with A$AP Ferg and OG Chess called Home. A song that became a sticking point in the relationship after Travis, well, he eventually sold that song to Kanye, passing it off as completely his own.
As far as Travis Scott goes, man, hey, that dude's mad, you know what I'm saying, mad cool. That's the homie from back in the day, you know what I'm saying. I'm happy for his success, you know what I'm saying. But other than that, it's really just to the point where, man, this is me, you know what I'm saying. This is kind of like, my project is kind of just like what I've been going through.
From that point on, well, Travis and his buddy / mentor, well, they were through. And while Travis' star kept rising higher and higher, well, OG, he hasn't had the same luck. Now that wouldn't be the last time that Travis, he would turn his back on a friend. Around the time that OG and Travis were dropping Cruisin', well, Travis sent the project to a man named Shane Morris. Now Shane thought the album was substandard and told him so, but this was a big but. He also believed that despite everything that was wrong with it, well, the album was damn close to being special. All it needed was some proper engineering. Now the two stayed in touch after that, and Shane suggested that Travis study alt-rock bands like the Cars to see how they structured their songs and told their stories. Now they talk on the phone a lot, and Shane, he would offer Travis as much guidance as he could. When Travis sent Shane that bitch crazy in August of 2011, well, Shane knew that Travis had finally found his sound. Now he immediately posted the track to Ear Milk and called as many of his connections in the industry to get their ears on the track. Now by the end of the week, he had contacted over 50 blogs and media outlets, telling anyone that would listen that Travis Scott, he was the next big thing. Shane and Travis, they hooked up in LA in January of 2012. Now once more, Shane, he took to introducing Travis to as many people in the industry as he could. Folks like Nelson London, Ryan Ross, Juicy J, Kesha, the list goes on and on. At first, things worked out well. Now everyone wanted to help Travis, and Travis was more than willing to accept the help. But eventually things, they started to change. Now one day Shane, he got Travis trying to steal a bounce from a session that Nelson London and Travis had been working on together. Now Shane told Travis that he could only take that beat to a meeting with T.I. if they took Nelson as well. Since Nelson, well, he'd created the majority of the production. Travis blew up on Shane, screaming at him that he needed the bounce to show off to T.I. and claiming that he did the majority of the production on the song himself. Now, since Shane had seen the whole process, he knew that Travis was lying and he refused to concede. After that, Shane started asking himself what had happened to this humble kid from Houston that he had first met online. Now he began to second guess his relationship with this Travis, especially after what happened one night while they were up late partying. Shane suffers from epilepsy, and while he was dancing away with everyone else, well, he suffered a seizure. Now other people, they showed concern for Shane immediately and helped him to get to the hospital. But Travis, well, he left as soon as Shane hit the floor. Why? Well, your guess is as good as anyone else. Now the two had been discussing Shane managing Travis prior to this point, and after the seizure, well, Travis, he told Shane that discussion was over and he was worried what people would think if Shane, well, he had a seizure while they were in a meeting. He reportedly asked Shane, "How do I know you're not just gonna be shaking on the ground and shit?" Now that was understandably the end of the relationship, both professional and personal. When asked about Travis Scott signing a deal with Good Music in 2012, well, Shane, he had this to say. "Am I happy for him? Not at all. He might be one of the most purely talented producers and rappers in the industry, but he's a thief, a liar, and he manipulates what he wants out of people until he's used them all up. There's no such thing as loyalty to Travis Scott." Yeah, the dark side is certainly dark. All right, let's circle back to A$AP Mob for a second. Now Ferg, he isn't the only member of that collective that Travis had had some issues with, but he was the starting off point. Now Travis has also had run-ins with affiliated members like Tyler Grosso, whom he once kicked out of his car in the pouring rain while waiting for a friend to roll up to the club, and then there was A$AP Rocky. During an interview with Complex in 2015, A$AP Mob's former creative director suggested that Travis Scott was only as popular as he was because members of A$AP Mob had paved the way for him. In particular, A$AP Rocky. Not long after that, Travis became enraged when a fan called him A$AP, getting right up in the kid's face. Now A$AP Rocky didn't give this beef much consideration, believing everything flying back and forth, well, it was simply petty stuff, and he didn't think Travis had in any way lifted his style.
If you're gonna do something and influence people, you can't be arrogant about it when somebody gets inspired. So if you gonna inspire people, when people get inspired, you know, you can't fault them for that. Right.
Like Funk Flex, who suggested on Twitter that a whole bunch of different rappers had stolen A$AP Rocky's swag, and Travis Scott was the primary offender. Alright, before we head out of here, I thought I'd mention a couple last things. Now, we all know that one of Travis's most defining features are his crazy live shows, where his fans, well, they're ragers, and he is the flame that sparks all of it. But sometimes that excessive energy, it can get taken too far. Just ask Kyle Green. In 2017, Travis was performing at New York City's Terminal 5 during his Bird's Eye View tour. Kyle was attending the concert when he was pushed off of a balcony due to the surging crowd that was being whipped into a frenzy by Travis.
Give me 18 real quick. I see you, but are you gonna do it? I ain't gonna lie. Turn the lights on. Turn the lights on. They gonna catch you. Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Kyle told the New York Post, "I fell and hit the floor. Before I knew it, I was surrounded by security guards who scooped me up. Travis Scott was yelling at his security guards to bring me to the stage. They didn't put a backboard or a neck brace on me or anything. They just kind of lifted me up and pulled me around. Then they dropped me in front of the stage." Now, Travis then gave Kyle one of his expensive rings for showcasing fearlessness before promptly carrying on with the show. Now, Kyle's injuries, they ended up being devastating. He fractured his vertebrae, he broke his left wrist, fractured his right ankle, and after multiple surgeries, well, he'll have to go around the rest of his life in a wheelchair because, well, the left side of his body is now paralyzed. Now, Kyle served Travis with a lawsuit not long after, suggesting that Travis had incited mayhem and chaos at prior events. He's probably referring to a concert in Rogers, Arkansas, where Travis, he encouraged the people in attendance to rush the stage and bypass all security protocols to do so.
I don't know if you're scared, I don't know if you're nervous, I don't know what it is, but if you want to get in this pit, this is your last chance right now. Whoa, here they come. Ray, Tyler, get it, film it, busy, Los, film it, let's go. I see him. Security, let him through.
Travis, he was taken into custody after that for inciting a riot, disorderly conduct, and endangering the welfare of a minor after a number of people were injured. Now, none of what I talked about in this video is particularly a good look, especially for a man as famous and popular as Travis Scott. Yet somehow, well, Travis, for the most part, well, he's avoided any mainstream exposure to these controversies. Yeah, I'm sure the execs at McDonald's wouldn't be loving it.
This isn't a part of the script.
Now, perhaps that's because Travis, well, he talks about these issues so little himself. He's almost never willing to feed the fire. Now, in a sense, that's smart, but it does make you wonder just what else is Travis Scott hiding in the dark side of his fame. Danielle Peskowitz was born in Boynton Beach. Trying to track down her authentic Instagram account was a little tricky. There are tons of pages under the name Slim Thugga with 3 eyes, or variations of that. But the main account is at Bhad Bhabie on Instagram, spelled with a bunch of H's. We'll show it to you right here. At the time of this recording, it has 1.3 million followers.
So I guess everything's fake now. Like my foot's fake, the bag is fake, the cross is fake. We don't even live in a real house. House is made out of plastic.
Her single mother, Barbara Ann, has apparently been putting up with Danielle's shit for at least 3 years. Let's go through a list of all her bad deeds. She frequently runs away from home and has been arrested 4 or 5 times. She's tested positive for drug use, including Xanax, marijuana, and there are photos of her enjoying a few sips out of a styrofoam cup.
No, I did perform.
She steals cars for fun, she's twerked on top of a police car, she fabricated a bag of heroin, placed it in her mother's bathroom, and then phoned the cops on her own mother. She's also stolen her mom's credit cards and charged thousands of dollars to purchase no other than a stripper pole. She's allegedly also threatened her grandma with a knife. She's certainly something else. So where does Danielle get her thick accent from? Well, she says she gets it from the streets.
You're so finna be sliding. You mean? That's what makes me want to take the next bitch car.
What now? I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Are you speaking English?
Her mother has tried everything, including therapy, to get her daughter back on the straight and narrow. Prior to the Dr. Phil show, she was considering having her handed over to the authorities if the good old doctor couldn't talk some sense into the young girl. But he didn't have her back as much as he had mine when I sat down on her show. Let's take a look.
Did you threaten to kill us? Did you say something mean?
Here are two quotes that Michael has said, and he certainly hasn't made any inappropriate threats against y'all.
Now if you want to see a full clip to that video, I'll leave a link down below on where you can find it. When producers went to visit Barbara and Danielle, the 13-year-old stole a production vehicle and crashed into her grandmother's car. While on the show in Los Angeles, she uttered these now infamous words.
Catch me outside, how about that?
On the show, Big Phil, he diagnosed the girl as putting up a wall to deal with her father abandoning the family and her mother battling cancer not once but twice. He also gave her the option of going to a ranch for therapy treatment. Now I'm not sure if she went, but based on her recent Instagram videos, I think it's safe to say she did not.
Now, first of all, I don't even record the fights I get into. Only reason that one was recorded because I was on Xanax. Like, who am I to have to prove that I could beat somebody's ass?
It was way back on September 15, 2016 that the Dr. Phil show uploaded this clip, but it took some time for the video to find its audience. It was in October that the clip was uploaded to Meme Crunch, but it would take until 2017 for it to find a following on Facebook as a meme. Some of my faves include Listens to 21 Savage Once, Catch Me Outside. Roses are red, your eyes gonna be black if you cash me outside. How about that? And I can cash you out over here, cash me outside. How about that? Danielle was becoming extremely popular online with her Instagram account hitting close to 1 million followers. There were fake accounts, imposters. The girl had become a viral star. Then the unexpected happened. It was reported that she had committed suicide.
Catch Me Outside girl found dead for a parent, you know what I'm saying, suicide after months of being bullied from social media and peers at school.
That was a clip from the channel Hood News in Elmira. Really great news source, you should probably subscribe. What they were saying went like this. After months of bullying from social media and peers at school, Danielle was found dead in her room on January 23rd. A fight with a fellow student leaked online of Danielle being dragged out of a car and repeatedly struck in the head. Just days after, Danielle was found unresponsive by her mother in her bedroom. Now that whole story is bogus, but Danielle did find a girl willing to cash her outside. And I pulled her right by her hair, it's pretty graphic.
Put your phone down.
But Danielle, she licked her wounds, and then she had a message for all her haters.
Everybody get their ass beat once. I don't give a fuck. Talk about it all you want. Keep saying, but you got dragged.
Logan Paul was born on April Fool's Day of all days. Yes, April 1st, 1995. Logan rose to the top of the Vine game, clocking in 8 million followers on the app in 2015, and found similar success on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As of 2017, he became a dominant force on YouTube. So much so that I covered him in both a Rich Life and a Before They're Famous video. And Logan, well, he was kind enough to react. And his plan now is to become the biggest entertainer in the world. Fact? And to be honest, I think it's gonna happen.
That's my boy, Michael. Oh, God.
Logan started 2017 with 1.6 million subscribers and became the fastest growing channel ever to surpass 10 million by August of 2017. At the time of this recording, he has accumulated over 15 million subscribers and is a household name, as is his merchandise. You know it as Maverick Apparel. Or maybe just Maverick. Actually, Maverick Apparel suing him, so let's just say Maverick.
Oh, my boy got that pink merch, though.
LoganPaul.com/shop.
Let's go!
His YouTube channel boasts an average of 10 million views a day with over 40,000 new subscribers joining the Logang on the daily. Now to put this into perspective, the long-reigning king PewDiePie, he pulls in around 8 million views a day and half as many subscribers. Now to be fair, he's already accumulated the most ever with almost 60 million at the time of this recording. But we ain't talking about Felix, we're talking about Logan Paul.
Logan Paul
Yes.
wants me to roast him.
Yes, okay, PewDiePie,
Give it to me, bro. It's going down.
Yeah, the force is pretty strong with this one. Now with all these eyeballs on Logan, it was pretty remarkable how unscathed he remained from the critique of fellow content creators, the general public, and mainstream media. Few ever found dirt on Logan regarding romantic relationships or bitter friends, and for the most part, he dodged all coverage of anyone trying to publish or promote any drama surrounding his celebrity. That was a long sentence. But there were some questionable events. He packed his buddy in a suitcase for a flight to France and was kicked out of his LA apartment for disturbing the peace. Then there were some low blows thrown at his brother via diss tracks, but his charisma and ambition, it allowed most everyone to overlook any wrongdoing. The best crack made at him was by the notorious YouTube drama artist H3H3 and iDubbbz TV, but that happened way back in 2016.
But like his nip, he's got like some big ass nip. He's like big nips.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just see a dude topless and you're like, you got big nips, dog.
Near to the end of 2017, Logan did catch some heat from Flowbots for covering their song No Handlebars in a way they thought was sexist.
You have to see this. His masterpiece is like a master thesis. In this project, he concocts a fascinating twist of logic. Describes a woman's body like it's just an object.
But that pretty much blew over without any real repercussions. Logan would eventually face criticism for how he handled himself in Japan, pretty much in general. Yeah, pretty fair.
You want some fish? Hi, how are you? Okay, it's Japan. Hello. Hi. Okay, get him. Honey, get him. Got you. I choose you.
Follow me on Instagram at Logan Paul. My merch at LoganPaul.com/shop. Thank you, Japan. I love you.
Excuse me, sir. The game seems to be malfunctioning. Mucho broken, though. Honestly, bro, I'm done with these fish. Don't mind me. Dumb American. Pants coming down. I'm now realizing why they tried to arrest me last year.
But really, none of this would come up until he entered the suicide forest. While his kid brother Jake faced near constant criticism throughout 2017, Logan's image remained pretty squeaky clean. But that all changed with Logan's final upload of the year. The repercussions, they were astronomical.
That's what we're doing, guys, every day. Like, literally, we are denting the universe.
I myself was one of the 6 million viewers who clicked on the video and watched it in its entirety. Logan stated in the intro that the video was not monetized and the feel of the video from start to finish was off par compared to your typical Logan Paul vlog video. The edit was sad and our always positive and animated host was uncomfortable and awkward. After 24 hours, the video was removed from YouTube, and there's been plenty of speculation on regarding who removed the video. Was it YouTube or was it Logan Paul? Now, according to members of YouTube's trusted flagger team, the video was flagged on YouTube, but the moderator who reviewed it allowed it to stay online. As a result, the video not only stayed up, it was also featured at number 10 on the YouTube's trending page. This despite the fact that the video had clearly broken YouTube's guidelines, which specifically state that it's not okay to post violent or gory content that's primarily intended to be shocking, sensational, or disrespectful. Susan Wojcicki, YouTube's chief executive, recently announced that it would hire 10,000 staff to police the site, stepping up in its war against violent and disturbing content. A YouTube spokesperson also said, "Our hearts go out to the family of the person featured in the video. YouTube prohibits violent or gory content posted in a shocking, sensational, or disrespectful manner. If a video is graphic, it can only remain on the site when supported by appropriate educational or documentary information, and in some cases it will be age-gated. We partner with safety groups such as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline to provide educational resources that are incorporated in our YouTube Safety Center." Eventually, YouTube did apply a strike on Logan's channel. Now, for those of you who don't know, a strike is a temporary flag on a user's account, which can accrue and result in a permanent ban, as in 3 strikes and you're out. Other channels that reposted Paul's videos predominantly due to outrage, well, they were also hit with strikes. But after 24 hours, Logan Paul and his team, well, they were the ones that decided that the video should be removed from the internet. This likely had something to do with the shit show of backlash that was coming his way. The first was from mainstream star Aaron Paul, perhaps because he was getting his own backlash through association of sharing the same last name. This was just the tip of the iceberg though. Other A-listers included Sophie Turner, Zach Braff, Chrissy Teigen, and they all added their own 2 cents. By now, Logan had issued a public apology via Twitter, which read, "I'm sorry. This is a first for me. I've never faced criticism like this before because I've never made a mistake like this before. I'm surrounded by good people and believe I make good decisions. But I'm still a human being. I can be wrong." Now, if you want to read that whole thing, feel free to pause the video, but this apology was heavily criticized for its use of the word I. People started calling him a narcissist, and this apology was widely overlooked. Then the YouTubers started sending out their own tweets in regards to this video. I'm talking PewDiePie, iJustine, Lauren DIY, Philip DeFranco, Rob Dyke, the Dolan Twins, Superwoman, and Casey Neistat, who gave some really good advice. Dear Logan, you can make a donation to the National Suicide Lifeline or give airtime on your YouTube channel to experts in the field to share information about prevention or even work with suicide prevention nonprofits to make PSAs about suicide prevention. Now, other YouTubers got to work on their own response videos. Boogie2988, well, he was one of the first.
You need to find an adult who will help you with these types of things. You can afford an entire PR team, dude, and if you don't have one now, you need one. You desperately need one.
Of course, this was big news for the news channels.
That was probably some of the most messed up vlog footage I think has ever been posted to YouTube.
There's a reason PewDiePie is so far ahead of everyone else. No one knows YouTube better than him, and he was fast to react.
So I wasn't really surprised by the fact that once Logan Paul found a dead body, that he acted like a jackass. It didn't really come as a shock to me.
Then there were some unexpected videos made by your favorite creators.
I've seen juggies go from being my fans to Logan fans, and when I see that, I care so much.
The Angry Grandpa Show, well, they got in on the action.
He was like, "Yo, give me the camera. What's poppin', Logan? You are not gonna believe this, bro."
As the story continued to grow, a YouTuber on the rise by the name of Kavos, well, he gave his reaction to the deleted content, which landed him millions of views and even coverage on Canadian television.
And I need to show this next part of the vlog, and it's a horrible, horrible thing to see. And I'm gonna blur it a lot more. I'm gonna blur it way more than Logan did because he didn't blur it enough. But you get it, it's a dead body.
It wasn't just YouTubers who were sharing their opinions. Soon after, mainstream media stars and mainstream media, well, they were reporting on the drama.
And the 2018 award for absolutely worst scum-sucking, bottom-feeding, contemptible piece of crap goes to...
You may not know that your kids are watching this guy, but with a huge impressionable audience. This year, he was ranked by Forbes magazine as one of the top entertainment influencers in the world.
No one's laughing at the suicide. They're laughing at him joking around near the guy who committed suicide. Like, I'm not saying you should do it. You definitely shouldn't. I don't want to see it, but it's kind of funny.
I would love to stop there, but this story has become a lightning rod for more and more creators, big and small, to voice their opinions. I'm just gonna start naming off all the channels who reported on this, and like, this isn't even half of them, not even a quarter. It's like a drop in the bucket. Here we go. AB Family with 7 million views, Philip DeFranco with 3 million views, Vitaly used this in a vlog with 1 million views, Christian Delgado with 3.5 million views, Comedy Shorts Gamer with 2 million views, there was more Wolfie, True Jordy, Furious Pete, Keemstar of course, and to be honest, even though it's very clear that Logan did something wrong here, I feel like people have kind of been piling on top of him. Just a couple days ago, after the initial launch of the infamous video, on January 2nd, 2018, Logan dropped an apology video called So Sorry.
I've made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment, and I don't expect to be forgiven. I'm simply here to apologize.
In that video, Logan made the move of telling his fans not to defend him or his video.
For my fans who are defending my actions, please don't. They do not deserve to be defended.
That was an important move because while the rest of the world was criticizing Logan for his mistakes, much of his audience was defending him. In fact, as Philip DeFranco points out, prior to outsiders criticizing the insensitivity of the video, Logan's core audience gave the video a ton of likes. They didn't have a problem with what he did and will likely defend him no matter what. So in terms of Logan's career, it seems to be far from over, but it is on pause for the time being.